What's up, backpackers? Today we're talking about some of the best stoves your money can buy. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, it's Thor. I help you get on the trail, geared up, educated, and more informed. I upload videos every single Friday, so please subscribe and hit the bell notification. Go ahead, subscribe. Because every week I upload new videos and I don't want you to miss out. So as mentioned before, we're gonna be checking out 3 of the best backpacking stoves that your money can buy. Let's just cut to the chase and let's get to the stoves. All right, so first up is a stove that I guarantee you've heard of, but maybe we've forgotten about it. It's the BRS 3000 titanium stove. Now the company claims that it'll boil. Now the company claims it'll boil 1 liter of water in 3 minutes, which is awesome. This thing weighs 0.88 ounces. The reason that they're able to get this so light is because it's made out of a titanium alloy. And here's the kicker: it's $16 on Amazon. Now there are many companies that make this, from BRS to other types of companies, because it's a Chinese knockoff. Now if you're looking to get this stove, look under different names and see if you can get the best deal. Now let's go over the pros and cons of this stove. Number 1, and the most obvious, is it's ultra light. This thing is 0.88 ounces, and you really can't get lighter than that. This stove is gonna be the lightest one that you're gonna find. If you find a lighter one, drop it in the comments below and let me know. It's budget friendly. This is the second pro. And those of us who are just starting out, or those of us trying to save some money, that's gonna be awesome, because it has ranged from $14 to $18, depending on the manufacturer, depending on the time of year, but it is usually about $16. So check it out for a great budget option. Another pro is that I've never really had an issue with it. So that being said, I think it's a good stove. Let's talk about some of the cons that I've found in using this stove. The one thing that drives me nuts about this stove is when you're screwing it on to the canister, it seems to leak way more when I'm screwing it on. No matter how fast I do it, I feel like I'm always getting showered with the butane on my fingers, which I don't really like. Is it a deal breaker? No, it's just something to think about as far as fuel consumption, and if you don't want to get that nasty garbage on your fingers. Now, another thing that I've heard that I haven't personally experienced is that these little arms, because they're so thin of titanium and made of titanium, that they will bend under extreme heat. So if you leave this on, if you're cooking on this, maybe it takes a while to boil some water because you're at a higher elevation and this metal gets really hot, they can bend. I've never had that experience. I have heard people that just bend it back and they still are good to go, but just something to keep in mind when you're looking at the BRS stove. Okay, the last con, and this is one that I had to kind of like pick at in order to come up with, but it's new to the market. Now, new is relative. It's been out about a year and a half. And that's not a lot of time for a piece of gear to be on the market to have a really good testing done to it. I think that in a few years, we're gonna start seeing some follow-up videos with maybe some gear failure videos, or 2, 3, 4 year reviews on this stove, if it makes it that long. That being said, I do think this is a great stove if you're just getting into backpacking or you're looking to save money. Check out the BRS 3000 titanium stove. All right guys, the next stove we're gonna be checking out today, that is not level. All right guys, the next stove we're gonna be checking out today is one that has been on the market for a long time. It is the MSR Pocket Rocket. Here I am where the movie started, facing at a photo they've taken. Space tree flying through the skies and petals happen everywhere. This stove is a stove that I have had for nearly 8 years. I've never had it fail once, and I really don't know if I can find something negative to say about this thing. Let's start off with the specs. This stove is 2.6 ounces, which, if we're looking at the BRS, is nearly, what, 3 times the weight. But really, you're getting a lot more quality for every dollar more that you're spending on this stove versus the BRS. MSR claims that this stove will boil 1 liter of water in 3.5 minutes. Which makes me wonder about the truth that the BRS stove would do it in 3 minutes, but I digress. On this stove, MSR has designed something called a wind clip. The reason that they call it a wind clip is because if you have used a backpacking stove, odds are you have experienced trying to boil water or cook when there's wind. When the wind comes through, it blows the flame and makes your heat and your stove less efficient. When it's less efficient, it takes longer to boil water. Now what they've done is they've created a small lip around the outside and the inside that's to try and help prevent that. Do I think it does a good job? I don't really know. Probably. I've never had a problem boiling water, but that's what they claim. It's called a wind clip, TM, or whatever they want to call it, that's trademarked by them. Their wind clip, just something to think about. Now at 2.6 ounces, this is still super ultra light. Now what's the price tag on this? On Amazon right now, it's going to run you $44, which is still a really good price for the piece of gear you're getting. Like I said, one of the cons about the BRS stove is that it hasn't been around very long. So who knows about the longevity or how long that product is going to last. This one I have personally had for 8 years. Now, I don't know about you, but having a piece of gear for 8 years that still works strong is one of the most amazing feelings. When you have a quality piece of gear that gets the job done every time, that's what the MSR Pocket Rocket is for me. Let's talk about the pros. Again, ultra lightweight. Most stoves are going to be ultralight. Unless you're carrying wood burning stoves or something crazy, most of them are going to be ultra lightweight. Again, as mentioned before, it's been on the market for a long time. So you know that MSR has got your back. It's been tested, it's been proven, it's a piece of gear that won't fail on you. It's efficient. I have never had a problem getting a flame. I've never had a problem lighting it, regulating it. I've never had an issue with this. It is one of the most efficient stoves I've ever used. Let's talk about some of the cons. Some of the cons to this are if you're just getting into backpacking, $44 can sound like a lot of money. And that's why I would suggest with going with the BRS stove, which I'll link to a video reviewing in detail the BRS stove right up here. So if you're just getting into backpacking or looking to save some money, you can check out that video and that'll help you make a decision. Back to the MSR. Another con. Now, while they claim to have a wind clip, do I think it works super efficiently? I don't know. You could say that it does, you could say that it doesn't. I'm going to say a con is that it doesn't have a wind braking system to it. Now, they claim that it does. I haven't noticed that it's a big problem. I haven't noticed that it's been a huge benefit either. But for me, there's one more stove that has a more efficient way to block out wind. Maybe we should check that stove out right now. Okay, the stove that I was mentioning before and making reference to in its ability to block wind is the SOTO Windmaster. The SOTO Windmaster is one of the most interesting and cool stoves that I've ever used. It comes in two pieces. One is the burner itself, and then two is like the pot stabilizer. It has a spring system here that you can open up to wrap it around. And all you do is you squeeze the side of it and it wraps and fits right around there and then creates a huge base for your pot. So you can put a really small pot or a huge pot on it and it's still gonna hold it. This stove weighs 3.1 ounces, which is only half an ounce, 0.5 ounces less than the MRS Pocket Rocket. With that extra 0.5 ounces, you do get some more features that you don't experience on any of the other stoves that we've talked about today. Some of those things are the wind lip. The wind lip is going to be this little piece of metal right here that's sticking up with the burners down inside so that you get a more efficient burn when using this stove. You also get an igniter that's built into the stove. See that little red tab right there? You just push on that, and as you push on it, it lights the stove automatically, so you're not required to bring a mini Bic lighter or some sort of way to start this. You've always got a starter built right in. With a little bit more weight and a few more features, obvious that the price is going to go up a little bit. The SOTO Windmaster on Amazon right now is $65. That may sound like a lot, but when you think about what you're getting, it's a pretty good deal. You're getting a quality piece of gear from a really good company with some features that you're not going to get on other stoves. It has a built-in igniter, a regulator, and this, I would say, pretty big way to block wind without having a windscreen around it. Let's talk pros. This thing is a quality piece of gear. I've had this stove for about a year. I've used it on trips. I've used it in my backyard. I've used it when I'm just playing around. And it's really a great stove. It's very efficient. It's from a reputable company. I think when you can get a piece of gear from a company that has a good name, it just gives you that peace of mind knowing that they're gonna have good customer service and they're gonna back their gear. And honestly, this is a really amazing way that it attaches to the can. If you can see, there's an extra O-ring all the way around that seals off the canister. So the whole top of the canister is covered, preventing any leakage of fuel. So I found that I use less fuel with the SOTO Windmaster because of those extra features. Let's move on to the cons. Again, gear companies are dialing their gear in as the backpacking industry grows. It is getting harder and harder to find problems with gear because it's getting so good. So I had to be a little nitpicky. Some of the things that I think are a con, maybe you won't, but I think that they are something to think about when you're considering spending this amount of money on a stove. That being said, it's more expensive. It's $65 when you have a $44 option, you have a $15 option. I'm sure there's some in between, but $65 is kind of getting towards the top of the line. And if you're not looking to spend that much money, then you might want to look at a different stove. It's bulkier. I mean, this stove is quite a bit bigger than either of the other stoves, and it's 2 pieces. It comes with its own bag, but you just have to think about if you like to put all of your cook pot or your cook system inside your cook pot, it may not work anymore, and you may just have to put it in a mesh bag or a Dyneema sack or something, because unless you have a big pot with your fuel canister and all the stuff you're going to tuck in your pot, this may not fit because of its size. Now, like I said, I had to be pretty nitpicky, but I do think in this case that the pros definitely outweigh the cons, as with any of these stoves. I've used each one of these stoves extensively, and I think each one you would be extremely happy with. All of them have worked almost perfectly for me, and I think that if you chose one of these stoves, you're not going to be upset. You're going to be happy with the decision you made if you choose any of these 3 stoves we talked about today. That being said, if you're just getting into backpacking and you think that it's probably going to be something that you want to do, I'm going to say go with the MSR Pocket Rocket. It's a good middle ground. You may not need those extra features that the SOTO Windmaster has, but it's a good middle ground to get a solid piece of quality gear for a reasonable price. If you're still looking to save some money, or you're just getting in and you're not sure if backpacking's for you, go with the BRS stove. If you have already tried out these other stoves, you already know that your gear's dialed in a certain way, the SOTO Windmaster is amazing. It has extra features, a little bit extra weight, which is not a big deal. But click back through this video, review the stoves a couple more times before you make your final decision between the BRS 3000, the MSR Pocket Rocket, and the SOTO Windmaster. Do me a favor. If you already have one of these stoves, let me know in the comments below which one you have. And if you don't and you're going to buy a stove, let me know which one you think you're going to buy. I would love to know your guys' opinions on which one of these stoves you think would work best. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you found any value in this video, please share this video with some of your friends that are trying to get into backpacking or looking at backpacking stoves. Smash the like button and be sure to subscribe to this channel because every single week I'm bringing out new content. Be sure to turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss any of that new content. And backpackers, thanks for stopping by.